Sahana bhavatu sahanau bhunaktu sah viryam karavavahai tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Religion is derived from two words, re-ligare, re again, ligare to join, like ligaments, or these words come from there. So to join, with something that joins something. To join again means that you have separated, means that it's not something new that we have to get, but something that we already have, that we already are, that needs to be re-got, reconnected with. The entire process of knowledge, therefore, is not gaining knowledge, but removing ignorance. It's always referred to as the removal of ignorance, not as the gaining of knowledge. We do, of course, say it is gaining of knowledge, but what is gaining of knowledge is only the removal of something. It's not the addition of anything, because you already are that. So the entire religious process, any religious process, is nothing but the removal of all the miscomprehension, all the misunderstanding, all the nonsense we basically created. Now, what happens is, in the religious pursuit, sometimes what happens is, instead of concentrating on removing ignorance, we focus entirely on gaining information. Okay, so we say, in my religion, in verse 3, chapter 4, it says this or that or something. If you don't know the entire process, you've not understood that line of thought in that book, in that text, whichever religious text, the bigger likelihood is that, forget removing ignorance, you're probably adding misunderstanding. As you can see, right? How many religious people are there who are adding to the sum total of understanding and peace in this world? And how many religious people are there who are adding to the sum total of ignorance and strife in this world? So, what is religion? It's a mysterious process. The mysterious process because it's not really comprehensible to us. That whole journey is not comprehensible. It's a mysterious process by which we trace back slowly, slowly, slowly into our original form, into our original being, for which we remove stuff, we don't add stuff. It's a very interesting concept if you can sort of get a hang on it. So basically what it is trying to tell us is that since you're removing stuff, you will not be able to comprehend the self with the intellect or mind or body. It's not that one day you will see God. Oh, darshan do ghaneshamana samori, akhiyan pyasi re. When you say darshan do, it doesn't mean with these eyes we are going to see. Every bhakta and every genuine bhakta understands that. You say, how do you say that? All the bhaktas want to go see God. Just think about this. Okay, it's not easy to go into any of these big temples and all that, right? Any of them, whether it's in Mathura, whether it is in which is like Banke Bihari, right? So any of the big temples, not easy to go in. Such a crowd, so much dirt, not easy to go in. You pull strings and use influence and do all sorts of things to get into a temple. Okay, Siddhivinayak or any of the big ones. And then you do stand in the line for so many hours. You take whatever you want to take over there, and all this you do. And many hours later, you go and get 1 second in front of the idol, right? Sai Baba is in front of you, or the form of Krishna, or whatever your Ishtadevata is in front of you, right? What does the bhakta do? If you go there with genuine religious feeling, what will the bhakta do?
Close the eyes.
Close the eyes. Very good. Close the eyes. Isn't it? Array, you put so much effort to go look at that, then look at it. No, you cannot look at it. If you go with bhakti, your eyes will close automatically. So everybody knows this. It's nothing in religion basically is something that you have to teach. Everything is very clear. Unfortunately, all the wrong stuff is also clear. So therefore, that's the problem. So that self, that truth, that reality is not something that our eyes will see. That darshan is within. That darshan is not out there somewhere. That some people think that um, meeting God is a great emotional feeling, and they get very carried away with that. They say, "Wahan jaakar Bhagwan ka, like I feel His presence over there." We don't. You cannot feel His presence. You can be inspired with it. You cannot know it. God is not something we can perceive with our senses, nor feel with our mind, nor conceive with our intellect. With the mind and intellect, you feel you're so close. Don't you sometimes say, "Oh, I get it, I get it. God is all pervading. God is that ultimate truth, that ultimate reality. I get it." No, you don't. You just don't. It's not true. It is only when you remove the body, mind, intellect that what remains is the truth. You cannot have something there and know the truth. Just as in the dream, for the dreamer to become the waker, he has to lose the dreamer's body, mind, and intellect. And then what remains is the waker. With the dreamer's body, mind, intellect, you cannot know the waker. It's not possible because the two are mutually exclusive. Either the dreamer's body, mind, intellect is there, in which case you're in the dream world, or the body, mind, intellect of the dreamer is not there, in which case you're a waker. So these two are mutually exclusive. Anybody who claims that, I perceived or felt or thought, understood the self, they don't know what they're talking about. It's just like the dreamer saying, "I saw the waker, I felt the waker, or I understood the waker." You can't do it. Can't be done. The two are mutually exclusive. Even if the dreamer uses the word waker, you know fully well that he doesn't understand what he's talking about. Like a child saying that. You know how children, you say, a 4-year-old child will say, "When I get married," they'll come up with something. "I will get married," and something or the other. When I get married, you say, "What will happen?" "When I get married, I will know how to fly." Something they'll come up with. Because they don't understand it. They're using those words. They don't understand what it means. So, religion is a mysterious process by which we trace back from this ignorance that we are caught up in to ultimate knowledge. This ignorance manifests itself as the body, mind, and intellect, and hence the body, mind, and intellect cannot know the self. Okay, so this is where we were. What can the body, mind, intellect do? It can transact with pleasure, love, and knowledge. This is what the body, mind, and intellect are capable of doing. Now, transacting with pleasure, love, and knowledge creates for us, if we don't know the proper technique, it creates for us fresh ignorance. But if you knew how to transact with this properly, you will be able to dissolve the body, mind, intellect and find again that self. Now, nobody's interested in learning the right method of doing this because
effort.
Okay, I mean effort, yes, of course, but even before the effort starts, you're not even interested. Why not?
Because we
Comfort
think
zone.
we already know everything.
We are in a comfort zone.
Okay, true. What else?
Lack of knowledge.
Our mind is conditioned that way.
A condition to what?
Likes and dislikes.
Conditioned
True.
to teachings which has
Going
been
after material pursuits.
Why are you doing material pursuit?
Instant
Because it gives you
gratification.
happiness, immediate happiness.
Yeah, because you believe so much. Yes, sir, Dev and Anita. Because who will take away the belief from us that it is transacting with the body, mind, and intellect that is going to give us pleasure? You can't remove anybody's belief. It's like telling a child, child is playing with toys, or so excited to play with the toys, and then you pull the child out from its games and its dollies and its pollies, and you say, there's no happiness there. The child will look at you like you're mad. Pagal, okay. You come and play, you will find out the happiness. And the same child one day will grow up to say, yeah, I don't know why I found it so exciting. Have you seen children play with some broken toy or something? You can't take it away from them. They will bring the roof down if you do that. They are convinced that that toy is the locus of happiness. And once you're convinced about that, you will not leave that thing. Nobody will leave anything that they believe to be the locus of happiness. So when you gain knowledge, it is basically understanding something that you're not capable of understanding, which is that nobody's with me unnecessarily. I'm talking.
Knowledge of self.
You are ignorant.
Knowledge of
Follow the
self.
line of thought. Follow the line of thought.
That happiness doesn't lie in these worldly
Very
pursuits,
good.
but in yourself.
Very good, Sarah. How can you ever believe that? So knowledge is telling you that there's no happiness there. What is your personal experience? That there is happiness there. So you say, what nonsense are you talking? How can you tell the child there's no happiness in the toy? For the child, happiness is in the toy. Then why do you, as a parent who loves the child and wants the child to be happy, why are you pulling the child away from that toy? Why? Tell me. You'll do that.
Experience greater joy.
Because you know that if the child continues indiscriminately with this toy, what will happen to the child? He will stay uneducated. He will stay where he is. You understand that. That is why every loving parent says, okay, you want to play with the toys, please play with the toys. This is your time, this time to this time. And then after that, you have to go and study. And every child hates his parent because his parent is unnecessarily interfering with his happiness. Unnecessarily interfering, he's having a good time. The parent is irritating him and telling him, ab padho, ab khao, ab ye karo, ab wo karo. Pagal log hai ye. These adults are all mad. Isn't that how it will appear from the child's point of view? Are these adults all mad? We are having a good time, and you want us to have a good time, and we are having a good time. Then why are you troubling us? It's exactly how we look upon those who tell us of higher knowledge. I am having a good time. I am enjoying myself. Then why are you eating my head up? Exactly the same thing, isn't it? So even though we hear it over and over again, that there is no joy in the world, there is no way we are going to buy this theory. Because why? Because we are experiencing the joy. You're actually getting the joy. You're enjoying it, right? You put a gulab jamun on your tongue, you enjoy it, right? Your spouse says something nice to you, enjoy it, right? You read something, you understand something, you enjoy that, isn't it? Now, who's going to tell you that there's no enjoyment there? And whoever tells you, even if they do tell you, why are you going to believe it? You won't believe it. It is the most natural thing. So knowledge is actually very counterintuitive. It's telling you that whatever you're experiencing is not so. That is why people who teach knowledge are in very dangerous positions, extremely dangerous. Humanity will go around killing such people, literally killing them. If you go around giving people knowledge, you're putting your life at risk. Please understand that before you start lecturing to anybody. Your life is at risk. History shows you that. Can you give me an example? You try to give somebody knowledge, humanity will try to kill you.
Jesus Christ.
Socrates.
Anything. Even this is name. Who's the person who told us that the earth goes, it is a heliocentric universe?
Galileo.
Galileo, yeah. What did you do to Galileo? But to anyone who tried to tell you that this is not, when somebody tells us something which is against our experience, it will create huge anger within us. Unexamined beliefs, remember? Create anger. So now here is a person, that's why even remember Bhaja Govindam, remember the line from Bhaja Govindam? Anyone remembers it? Nobody here is from. Actually, I need to know, are you all attending the 4 classes? Each one is attending 1 class? Huh?
Is it that word?
Pranayamam pratyaharam nitya nitya viveka vicharam.
No. Remember, what is contextual here? Contextual here is Vyartham kupyasi mayasa hishno. Vyartham kupyasi mayasa hishno. Vyartham. Unnecessarily are you getting angry with me? Even Shankaracharya says that. What do we say before every class? Do you all know the meaning of the invocation that we say before every class?
Yes, Janki.
Which line am I referring to?
That we may all gain knowledge without experiencing hostility towards each other.
That may we not hate each other. Saying that every class, may we not hate each other. When you first read the translation of the prayer, you say, what? I hate my teacher? Impossible. But they know something more than we do. They know how it feels when desires get interrupted. Psychology of the person you're talking to. What amount of identification, imagine the Upanishads must have had to be able to put it. It's an Upanishadic prayer, by the way. It is there in the Upanishads. Not the tune we are currently using, but the words. The tune in Vedic chanting is different. So, when somebody tells us something which is against our experience, okay, you need tremendous faith and love for that person to simply not Reject what they are saying, because rejecting it is the most natural thing. Why would you believe it? Suppose I tell you that currently you're not listening to a class. You say you are mad, isn't it? Because you know you're listening to a class. How can anyone deny your experience? Your experience is king. But yet the fact remains that there is no pleasure there. And they will tell us this whilst we're experiencing the pleasure. How does this work is what he's explaining to us now. So I hope this is clear. Okay, I'm just going to summarize what we've done so far. Relation is a mysterious process by which we uncover what we really are. In relation, unfortunately, we start adding stuff instead of subtracting stuff. The body, mind, and intellect have to be used in a certain process to remove the ignorance, but the body, mind, and intellect in themselves cannot be used to know the self. When we transact with the body, mind, intellect, we do not use it in the right technique because we use it for the acquisition of pleasure, love, or knowledge. And we use it for this purpose, unfortunately and tragically, believing that we will become happy in this way. That's the tragedy of it all. The tragedy is you're using a certain tool to get a certain end, but you're not using it the right way, so you're getting something completely different. Okay, all clear up to this point? Now, knowledge tells us that this use of your body, mind, and intellect will not bring you that happiness. To which we argue when we say, you must be joking, because I am getting the happiness. When my husband is very loving to me, I'm very happy. When my son brings me a nice pizza, I'm very happy. When I learn something new, I'm very happy. So what's your problem? And the sages go on repeating ad infinitum, no baba, even though you're experiencing the pleasure, ain't there, bastard, simply ain't there. No. You know, you're a very nice person, you talk very well, but this is not really correct because I can't buy this. That's why we don't undertake the path. So how does this work is what he's going to explain now. Clear up to this point? No problem. Okay, so who will read the next? Who will read the next? Anyone is volunteering? Go ahead, Manoj. You're volunteering to read, right? Yeah, go ahead. You are muted, so you need to unmute yourself. You're still muted.
Your body, mind, and intellect transact pleasure, love, and knowledge, but they cannot provide.
That, Manoj. We finished
Wrong
that
paragraph.
paragraph.
Yeah, however, the mass of humanity perceives the pleasure and joy in the objects and beings of the world, people actually experience it. Hence, they go after them. But these objects and beings present only a false glamour of pleasure and joy. They inherently lack it. This truth is never accepted, as people claim their experience to be just the contrary. Even those who profess to know the truth are not well established in it. They understand it academically, not really to live by it. Hence, it becomes virtually impossible to convince people of the absurdity of worldly pursuits, while they firmly believe in and continue to draw their share of happiness from it. So the summary, as per me, is we have this knowledge only at the level of information currently, and we are not actually seeing the joy we will get out of it, and that is why we are sticking to the immediate gratifications or immediate pleasures out of it.
Also, yes, correct. Also, that the reason we don't buy into it is because our experience is different. So even if we say, yes, you know, I like Vedanta very much, or I'm studying Vedanta, or make any such claim, it's all just academic. Because if it was not academic, our life would be very, very different. So though we claim to say that the world has no joy, very often we say the world has no joy because currently it is giving me sorrow. This is very different from what the great masters talk about. The great masters are not talking about that sorrow. The great masters are saying that when you experience joy in it, there is no joy. At best, we understand, okay, so I have a fight with my husband. I say, oh, this marriage is useless. I don't want to be married. Okay, so why am I saying this? Not because I've understood Vedanta, but because I am currently experiencing sorrow. This is tragic because marriage cannot be a cause of sorrow. How can it be? Marriage is a very pleasurable experience. If at all it is being a cause of sorrow, it means
All married people should be sad.
oh, okay, yeah, logically true. But correct, you're right in that answer, of course, Reshma, but in context,
My desire is not getting fulfilled.
yes, that is also true. If
not-
marriage, go ahead.
I am not in right contact,
Very
the right way to contact.
I have not contacted it correctly. It's like saying fire is such a horrible thing. No, it's not. Fire is a very good thing. Because of fire, humanity has progressed, right? But that same fire, because of which humanity has progressed, is currently devastating forests and devastating all sorts of things. It's not the fire that is to blame. It is us who do not know how to contact it. So marriage can be very beautiful as an institution if you knew how to contact it. Just as everything else can be. Absolutely everything else can be. So, when we are in sorrow, we claim to be in Vedanta. This is a false belief. If you are in Vedanta, then it is known by the fact of how comfortable you are, how happy you are, and how much happiness you are providing to others. I would not have normally added the second line, being happy is good enough, but I'm adding the second line. You know why? You know why?
Because if you have it, you can give it to somebody else.
That is true. So obviously, there's no need for the second line that you cause happiness to others. So if you're happy, your job is done. But I'm adding that line. You know why?
Because the second one is an effect of the first one.
Okay. So why add it? It's included in the first, right?
Because we go around thinking we know everything and we are happy.
Yes, because human beings are very capable of fooling themselves. You can be the most miserable person on the surface of this earth and still claim, I'm very happy. Possible. Therefore, there's a second test. Have you created happiness to those around you? Because we lie to ourselves. When we are most unhappy, most miserable, we say, oh, I'm fine. Somebody asks you, how are you? You won't say, oh, I'm a miserable, pathetic creature. What will you say? You say, I'm fine. Everything's good. All's great. Now you can tell that to the world, which is fine. No problem. Tell the world it's great. The difficulty is you tell yourself. It's bad enough to be ill, but it's very bad to not admit that you are ill. Therefore, comes the second line. And when we are not well, means we are not whole and complete and content and comfortable within ourselves. We create a lot of ruckus in the world around. Lot of ruckus. And after creating the ruckus, you say, oh, they are unhappy. I am okay. Arey, you are the cause of their unhappiness. When are you going to get it? So that's why in the Gita also he describes the bhakta as he who is not agitated by the world and by whom the world is not agitated. Nobody can agitate you and you agitate nobody. So as a secondary test for ourselves, we have to see the happiness of those around us. Is your spouse happy? Is your staff happy? Are your siblings happy? Are you contributing to that happiness or are you reducing that happiness? What are you doing to it? Now it is possible, okay? Many people tell me, oh, my mother is nagging me all the time. You know that constantly. My wife is nagging, my mother is nagging, my husband is nagging, somebody or the other is nagging us. There are some people like that. They're inherently unhappy. However, don't just say, okay, they're inherently unhappy. The point is, as inherently unhappy as they are you still their favorite person? Favorite not in the sense of some petty sense, but in the sense that you are not making a bad situation worse. So I hope this is clear because, we seem to fall on one side or the other. Or sometimes we take responsibility for other people's happiness. No, we are not responsible for their happiness. They will live their life their way. Okay. Then sometimes we start becoming extremely self-centered and say, it's not my problem whether you're happy or not. No, that's also not correct. So Vedanta is all about balance. Both ways. You can't fall this way, you can't fall that way. You can't fall into the tamas of saying, my life, I'm taking care of it. Or rajas, which says, oh my God, you're unhappy and you're unhappy because of me. No, sattva is, I'm doing the best I can. I will be a contributor to your happiness, but your happiness is your responsibility, just as my happiness is my responsibility. I will contribute to yours as much as I can do, whatever my ability. Your responsibility is your responsibility. My responsibility is doing my stuff properly. So, this is all misunderstood. So, I don't know, should I keep on explaining or is it clear? Is also never clear to me. But it's so difficult to understand. The right way is so easy and the wrong ways are so numerous that sometimes it's like, oh, okay, understood. Or is it a further explanation? Who knows? Anyway, coming back to this paragraph. We will not accept that there is no happiness in the world because our experience is happiness. When our experience is unhappiness, we misunderstood. We misunderstand Vedanta. Can you all hear all these people screaming outside the house? You can hear or not? Or only
Very clearly, Janki ji.
Yes.
Right. Why are they shouting? God alone knows. So, well, we just put up with whatever we cannot control. So, we do not buy, we do not accept the theory that there is no joy in the world until we meet sorrow. When we meet sorrow, we say there is no joy in the world, we've misunderstood it. We should be able to understand that there is no joy in the world when we are enjoying that joy. Then you've understood Vedanta. When you are completely happy with everything the world has to offer you and created a happiness for others as well. Everybody is happy with you and you understand there's no joy in the world. That is Vedanta. Calling the world names is not Vedanta. Saying you're such a horrible person is not Vedanta. Saying you are troubling me is not Vedanta. Okay? So we cannot accept the joy in the world, that there is no joy in the world because we're experiencing it. And if at all we say, no, you're right, there is no joy, we haven't understood this concept at all. How do we know we haven't understood it? Because if we did understand it our entire life, would be very differently dedicated. We'll be dedicated to God, not in the way people are nowadays. Why are we dedicated to God nowadays? Because we look upon him as some kind of Santa Claus who's going to come and fulfill our desires. You know, I'm so worried about Corona, but if I take the Lord's name, then I won't get it. This kind of madness is called bhakti nowadays. It's so misunderstood, no? We're looking upon God like he's going to come and take care of us. Why do you even think like that? Why don't you think God has put you here to take care of the situation? Tamas comes disguised as bhakti, which is such a sad thing. Such a sad thing. All our tamasic views are considered to be either bhakti or jnana. Frightening idea, frightening. So, since we experience it, when we experience it, we believe that there is joy in the world. Knowledge tells us this is not true. We will not believe knowledge in any real sense of the term. If you don't understand it, how can you believe it? You don't really get it. So he explains this with a really beautiful example. So who will read the next paragraph?
Shankiji, one question.
Yeah.
So when we speak about this point of being happy and causing happiness to others, so how would a person who is sad or miserable even acknowledge that he is not the cause of his own happiness or spreading happiness?
How will he do it? He won't do it. He will always believe that somebody else is at fault. And knowledge will come and tell him that, the responsibility is yours. So then he will reject it. Understandably so, because that's his experience. Remember that to allow knowledge to supersede your experience is one of the most difficult things. How will you? Suppose you touch something and you feel it hot. Okay? And somebody tells you it's not hot. Will you believe your touch or will you believe what that person is saying? Isn't it? So when a person, suppose I am very unhappy with you, Bharat. I'm not, by the way. Bharat is apna bahut acha bacha. But let us say I'm very angry with Bharat for some reason. And then somebody tells me that you're angry with Bharat and you're responsible for this. Then what will I say? I will say, I am responsible. Bharat is behaving badly and you're telling me I am responsible? What are you saying? You're mad. Isn't it? Because that's my experience. When you tell a person that your spouse is not causing you sorrow, does that person ever believe you? If I knew how to make them believe, many of my manas are going to be saved. Hey Baba, you are responsible. Please take responsibility. It takes 6 months to get this much across. In the meanwhile, you hear hours and hours and hours about how horrible the other person is. Everything you're saying about how horrible the other person is may well be true. Let us admit that it is true for argument's sake. You're still responsible. Nobody buys that. So how? Nobody will take anything. That's why sometimes they say the only hope you have is your teacher. Not because the teacher has any great good in themselves, but because you believe if the teacher says it. It's like a placebo effect. You hear it from a person who you don't believe in, you won't believe it. And you hear it from a person who you do believe in, you believe. Maybe that's the only hope. So how to do that conversion, Bharat? When we start our research activities, you please research that, because it will save everybody a lot of time if we knew how to create a conversion. It is difficult. So we have two things which are usually told to us. Number one, the faith, the devotion, the belief, the love for the teacher. Very, very personal. In spite of everything Vedanta says. Very, very personal. You believe in this particular person and you will believe that person even if that person tells you something most against your experience. So that was practiced for some time. Then what happened? Unscrupulous people made use of this, made complete use of it. They told them some rubbish and they said, and so no, but I didn't experience that. I believe in your teacher. Of this kind of blind faith drove everybody down the drain. It's not blind faith. You don't just pick anybody unscrupulous person who will tell you anything and then you believe it and then pray. So that also has problems. Second method they gave was the sense of mumuksha, the desire for liberation. This is a much better method because it is self-driven. Self-driven in the sense that you know you want to get somewhere and you pay the price to get there. The problem is, who has that? So the via media begins to become again belief in somebody. So you see how this works? If you understand how it's working, you'll figure out a lot of things that are going on. Is that clear, Bharat?
Ji. Thank you.
Yeah. In other words, the answer, Bharat, simply put, is I don't know. I should have started with that. I don't know. These are the methods given. They have their own challenges. At the bottom of all this is, if you really look at us, okay, 72 or 75 people over here. At the bottom of the reason why we don't improve, why we don't develop, the bottom reason, the rock bottom, there's no reason other than this, is what? Can you tell me why? So we struggle with it. We do not improve. We do not develop. Why is this?
Acclimatized.
Okay.
Lack of desire.
Lack of desire for
liberation or ignorance even.
We don't want to develop. That's the base. Everything else is justification.
No, Janki ji, not true. We want to develop, but it doesn't happen so easily.
No, because you know why it doesn't happen? Because you don't pay the price which you're supposed to pay. What we are doing is we're doing all the fun parts. But we won't do the parts which we have to do. Anything that is not suitable to us,
But I think we are still, when we look back, we are better than what we were last year. So maybe there is little bit not so bad, I think.
Good, you must be happy with yourself, Deepa. But the fact remains that surface issues are easily dissolved. It is the deep inner ones that are the ones that make give us the real trouble. In the beginning, when you come to Vedanta, what's this? I feel so much better. Stay. Samajh mein aayega, sab samajh mein aayega. This is a path that will actually bring tears to your eyes. If it didn't bring tears to your eyes, then you aren't doing anything. There is no goal. There is no great achievement in this world which is got because you are going to go down that path very comfortably. So you must want it more than you want your comfort. You must want it more than you want anything else. It must be the single pointed pursuit driving you. That's the only way to achieve something, nothing else. So why don't we develop? It's very simple. Because I don't want it. Attending classes is interesting for some people. It's very boring for some people. For some people, it's very interesting. So they attend classes. But attending a class means what? If you went to school and only attended class and didn't do homework, would you come out an educated person? So what is this thing that, I attend classes? The point is not how many classes you attended. The point is, what did you do between the two classes you attended? How much were you willing to sacrifice for your goal? How much were you willing to sacrifice your likes and dislikes for your goal? Your own likes and dislikes, not sacrificing anybody else's anything. How many likes and dislikes have I sacrificed for my goal? Firstly, do I have a goal? Step one. And what sacrifice have I put on? When did my eyes tear up? Because this was difficult for me, but I still did it. So, that is not Deepa, of course, to deny any of your effort. As everybody knows in the class, Deepa puts in a lot of effort. She gets up every morning and studies. She does great karma yoga. She does her bhakti yoga, everything. She must be totally frustrated with me after I did everything. Now you're saying this to me. So, not to deny all the effort, Deepa, but every one of us have to be impelled by that single desire. I'm getting there. It's a question of time. Anything happens, it can block my path, can stop, can slow down my path, can whatever it does to my path. I don't care. I'm getting there. If I can't use X method, I'll use Y method. But I'm not leaving this. That is the sort of stuff that creates the development. Okay, so yeah, Reshma?
Sorry to interrupt. What you answered for Bharat's question, the second part, could you just explain it again? I didn't get you.
This whole thing was an explanation of the second part. That first way, why will you believe something which you don't experience? So one way is you believe the teacher, or you believe the text. So you have great belief in Vedanta, or you have great belief in Gita, or you have great belief in the person of the teacher. You believe somebody or something, and therefore you're willing to even listen when someone is telling you something against what you experience. Okay, that's method number one. Method number two is mumukshatva, the desire for liberation. That whatever it takes me to get out of this mess, I'm going to do it. Whatever it takes. So somebody tells you that, so you hear that, X method. So you say, okay, let me try X method. Or somebody says Y method. You say, okay, let me try Y method. And then over a period of time, you realize that this certain methods are just bunkum. They don't work at all. So, but it's basically you figuring out what needs to be done. It's self-driven as opposed to driven by an external source. Clear?
Okay, so would it be right to say that I keep experimenting till I get what that goal I have set for liberation? Right? Okay, got it.
Hariom Di, may I ask a question?
Yeah, 1 second, Sangeeta. Kumar Azad, Google symptoms करके बहुत डर गया हूँ. I don't know what you're talking about, Kumar. Yeah, go ahead, Sangeeta.
Be like you said that we need to keep faith in our teacher. Similarly, having faith in the Vedic mantras, how does it become tamasic then? Like, for example, you said for Corona,
I didn't say you should have faith in the teacher. That's not what I said.
Oh, you keep faith. You keep faith in the teacher.
No, I'm not. No, I didn't say that at all. What I said was, Bharat's question was, when a person is not able to see how he is responsible for the mess he is creating, what will make him see it? I said one of two things will make him see it. One is either he believes somebody who tells him that, or which is an external thing, somebody or something, could be a text, could be a book, could be anything, or alternatively, he is self-driven in the sense he says, I want to get out of this mess. So there was no recommendation to believe in somebody.
No, but you said that like chanting of the mantras means getting into jnana or bhakti is many times tamasic. So I mean, I didn't get that point.
Getting
If
into
we
jnana, okay, I'll explain that. Getting into jnana or bhakti can become tamasic because you use the concepts of jnana or bhakti to justify wrong behavior in yourself.
okay,
So that's how
but
it becomes tamasic.
But when we apply those concepts to improve ourselves, then it is not tamasic.
Yes, of course. That's what we're doing, right? We employ them to improve ourselves. No. First step is, have you understood them correctly? And then you employ them. You misunderstand them, and then you people are, you misunderstand a concept and then create havoc all around. So first step is understand it. What is the person trying to say? Step one. Then can I do this? That's it. Step two. Is it doable? Step two. So it's more about understanding it correctly. Understanding it correctly, sattva. Understanding it incorrectly is either tamas or rajas.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Okay, so too much negative thoughts come in my mind from 6 months, regularly running through. Yes, Kumar, many people are having negative thoughts come in. You can come and attend the classes if you WhatsApp to the number that's given. Then attend classes with knowledge, of course. What not negative thoughts? Knowledge is always comforting to our minds, right? So, because the mind is allowed to play in kichad, as it were, it creates kichad around. But when the intellect drives the mind into noble, pure, higher, better things, all the kichad disappears. So do attend the classes or read the books, whatever works for you. And then you will find that there's no question of any sort of negativity coming into the mind. We know that whatever happens, we're going to be able to deal with it. I hope that's okay. Harish, how we consistency in achieving goal. Consistency in achieving goal means your intellect is strong enough to keep your mind on the task that you need to do versus the task which your mind wants to do. So consistency is a capacity of the intellect. You develop the intellect by study and reflection. So same answer as I gave Kumar. Attend classes, understand it, develop your intellect through study and reflection, and then you have consistency. Okay, so to develop the intellect, the first thing we need to do is follow the line of thought of what we are doing. We're not discussing consistency, right? Over here, what are we discussing? We're discussing how we will gain, how we believe we gain happiness from the world. So if you just figure this much out for today, what will happen? You will be consistent in your work because you'll not be carried away by some other desires. You just focus on what we are doing. Keep the desires, keep whatever you want out at the back of your mind. And if you focus on what is happening in class, you will find that all the problems eventually simply disappear. Okay, Harish. So who will read the next paragraph? Please go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
This strange phenomenon of deriving happiness from where it does not exist is well portrayed in the reflection of light. The sun above is one, while the reflections of the sun are innumerable in the countless reflecting media in the universe. There is light in the sun alone. The reflections have no light inherent in them. You appreciate this when you get close and examine them carefully. So it is with the objects and beings of the world. They do not contain any pleasure or joy. It is the bliss of the self that is reflected in them. What you enjoy is the reflected bliss. You will realize this when your intellect gets closer and examines them, that the bliss is within you, not in the external world. Here, the Swamiji says that, give the example of sun and the reflected light. So what Swamiji is saying is that there is no inherent joy in the reflected, from the reflection, but actually in the source. But we experience only the reflection and that the bliss is within our heart, we do not understand.
Yeah. So what is he trying to say? That a reflecting medium is reflecting light. That is the critical point. So you're saying that the reflecting medium has the light. If you can get that much, then it will become pretty clear. You are seeing reflected light from a reflected medium. Correct? So you're saying that I can get light from it, which is correct. What we miss is that that medium is giving light as a reflection. The medium in itself doesn't have light. So similarly, you're getting happiness from a gulab jamun, correct? You're getting it. What we are not getting is that gulab jamun in itself doesn't have it. It's a reflected light. How is it a reflected light? When you eat the gulab jamun, the agitations in the mind come down, and the peace which is anyway in there will just come forth. So it's not in the gulab jamun. How do you know that? Because if you didn't have a desire for gulab jamun at that point and you were made to eat the gulab jamun, you'll get no peace or no pleasure out of it. So it's not denying the reflected light, it's just saying that there is reflected light. It is reflected light. Please don't assume it to be the real light. When you assume it to be the real light, you keep chasing that gulab jamun. And when you keep chasing the gulab jamun, you find out one day it has no joy, isn't it? So you say, oh, this gulab jamun is so good. And so you eat 1, you eat 2, you eat 3, you eat 4, you eat 5. What happens? The joy is gone. You're chasing the wrong thing.
मीठी सब्जी थी और खाने का मीठा मन नहीं हो.
Sorry, I can't understand what you're saying. Is that clear? The reflecting medium reflects the light, does not contain the light. When you keep chasing the reflected medium and the sun has gone away, then how will any light come from it? So you must know its true source. Clear? Who will read the next paragraph?
I can read, Sister Janki.
Please go ahead, Sarah.
Nevertheless, people devote all their time and energy to worldly acquisition and enjoyment. They spend their lifetime in acquiring material wealth and trying to find enjoyment in what they have acquired. So are the ignoramuses lost in the world, seeking the bliss of the self in its reflected images. Succumbing to peer pressure, you follow the same pattern of life. Your worldly pursuits sooner or later lead you to despair. You remain confused and confounded. You need not lie low in this state of despair. Wake up to the realities of life. Get wiser with the eternal truths. Use your intellect to examine the objects and beings that seem to have pleasure and joy. Study them carefully. Understand their hollowness and look for the real source of happiness within you. Seek the Supreme Self, the abode of eternal peace and bliss. So the ignorant spend their lifetime in worldly acquisition and enjoyment, seeking the bliss of the self in its reflected images, ultimately leading them to a state of despair. So or you must use your intellect to examine and to understand the hollowness of objects and beings, and then seek the real source of happiness, which is within you, which is the Supreme Self.
Very good. So people are running after it, not finding it, and still not stopping to say, why didn't I find it? Ask the question. If you ask the question, you'll get the answer. Just ask the question. Why didn't I find it? What happened over here? And investigate. Find out. You will find the eternal truth for yourself. So that's it for today. Hari Om.
Hello, ma'am. I have a announcement.
Yeah. Ganesh, please
Yes.
go ahead.
So tomorrow, Sunday, from 7 to 8 p.m., we will have the small group discussion. So everyone here, please be a part of it. And Janki ji will be present in one of the group to coach us. So that's about it. And see you tomorrow. Hari Om. I will mention my number in the chat.
I have a question. Sorry, Ganesh, Sister Janki. Is it tomorrow or day after?
Sunday.
Tomorrow. Group discussion is IST Sunday evening, 7 o'clock. This today and tomorrow has now become very difficult because it's all over the place. So IST Sunday, please everybody start this method of saying IST because it's, we forget people being in Mumbai, people are now like all over the place. So IST 7 p.m. Sunday. As a standard practice, we'll just